and approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Call, pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, all nations, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any public comment this morning or this evening? Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Jan Norris. I live in southwest Montgomery County, close to Highway 59. Our neighborhood first received letters giving notice of the Summit Carbon Pipeline project in August of 21. Like everyone else, I didn't know what they were, so I've spent the last 4 years learning. In my 5 minutes, I'll touch on the fundamentals and walk you through the current updates. At first, there were 3 carbon pipeline companies proposing projects in Iowa. Summit Carbon is the only one still trying to build an ambitious CO2 pipeline across the Midwest. They proposed to capture CO2 created in the ethanol process, pressurize it to over 2,000 psi, and transport it 2,500 miles to be injected over a mile underground to sequester it, or use it for enhanced oil recovery. Currently, the federal government will pay them in federal tax credits as a reward. The phase 1 route wants to cross nearly 700 miles of Iowa, including 126 miles down western side to join Ida County and the plant and Green Plains in Shenandoah. A little over 6 miles of Page County is impacted and about 4 miles in Fremont County. After an extended application process and hearing, the Iowa Utilities Commission issued Summit a conditional permit, including eminent domain. Construction under the Iowa permit is dependent upon obtaining permits in both North and South Dakota. The Iowa permit is being appealed by multiple parties, and just today I learned the Farm Bureau has filed a brief in district court arguing the Iowa Utilities Commission acted improperly in granting eminent domain as part of their permit. Summit has also applied to expand its project over 300 miles in Iowa, which we refer to as phase 2, which will add another 30 miles across Montgomery and Adams counties. The company adapted a very effective approach of playing a good game of offense. They've actively filed lawsuits against local ordinances. You may remember Shelby County has a case in appeals court, and a ruling is expected by this fall. So let's fast forward to 2025. In March, South Dakota passed a law banning eminent domain for carbon pipelines, which has thrown a big wrench into Summit's plans. There are court cases in multiple states for multiple issues. The industry is lobbying DC to allow federal eminent domain to override state and local control, which has been proposed as part of the budget bill that they're fighting about right now. In the Iowa legislature, this was the 4th session. Bills to protect private property rights have been brought up, but the Senate refused to debate them. The senators band together this year to force leadership to allow debate, and House File 639 was passed and sits at the governor's desk. It does not ban eminent domain, but sets requirements for its use. It also addresses a few other concerns illuminated by the carbon pipelines. This bill is supported by ISTAC and the State Association of County Supervisors. Please ask the governor to sign it. Page County landowners have been before you in the past, sharing their concerns. About 1/3 of the landowners along the route in Page County have refused to sign easements. In Fremont County, it's about 25%. Marty Maher told you how worried he is about them cutting through his terraces and how the low soil would erode. And the route is proposed to be between the house and his new grain bin complex. The Gutchenreiter family is hoping to pass their land on to the next generation, but now see it as a liability. The easements can encumber the land forever. Water is a huge issue for Shenandoah right now. An analysis was conducted for a report in 2023. The ethanol plant in Shenandoah used 49% of the city's water. Adding carbon capture could also use an additional 17%. This is alarming to many who are under water restrictions in their homes. The federal regulatory body PHMSA spent about 3 years of research and came up with recommendations for new regulations on CO2 pipelines. Sadly, they were dismissed by the new administration, but one recommendation was to establish an emergency response zone of 2 miles on either side of the pipe. That would put the entire city of Shenandoah in a danger zone should there be a CO2 rupture. Iowans along the proposed route continue to be in limbo as these projects are completely up in the air. South Dakota has banned eminent domain. Iowa's permit is being appealed. Legislation could impact the application, and the project is grossly behind schedule. Reynolds is about to reveal if protecting property rights really does matter to her. There is a lot of uncertainty and emotion around these projects, and I just wanted to come in and share with you what I know. As always, I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Is there any other public comment today? Okay. We'll move on to our public hearing for our budget amendment. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
Make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, Anna. Motion on that, or a vote? First and second? Okay, aye?
Aye.
Okay, aye. Okay, do you want to do that, Kristen? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so basically, secondary roads, which JD was in, talked about before,
You want a little bit more?
a little bit more.
Yeah.
JD had already talked about his secondary roads, with the DOT, it's the same one. We had that increase in juvenile court services, so we had a kid that stayed longer than expected. And conservation and sheriff both have equal revenue and expenses for theirs. So we're just transferring from one fund to another, and same with dispatch.
There's like on the one, I think that lists two dispatch.
So we're taking
there-
one from a different fund and putting it in. Summer had that one from Zetron, I believe.
Okay. I was just wondering on that, the resolution 23 that came out. So then underneath appropriations, there's two dispatches listed there.
Yep, so one
So-
is taking out and putting into another. They didn't get a revenue, we're just switching from one account to the other.
Okay.
Is that understood?
Yep.
Okay.
I see that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then
We're having a problem hearing. Can everybody hear now? Okay.
they have problems.
Yeah, somebody was having a problem hearing, so. Okay. Are there any other questions on this? We're changing the expenditures and the revenues, and then we're changing the appropriations also.
And then under miscellaneous, I think that's, no, hang on. Yeah, line 12. So miscellaneous, and we're adding 58,653. What is what's miscellaneous
So
contribute for?
The 58,
a lot of that is different accounts from the sheriff's department.
that's extra revenue, right?
Correct.
The $58,653. That's a
They've got some grants.
Okay.
They had a sale of 2 pickups.
Okay,
So that's additional revenue.
That's additional that came in that we weren't expecting.
okay,
We always like additional revenue.
yes. Okay,
So what we're going to be doing
And
is
like some of it, remember the hailstorm
yeah,
got income in and then spent it.
okay. And then what was under public safety and legal services? That was 78,000 more for that. And that would be number 18 on the line there.
that's some expenditures.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's under expenditures, so,
I mean, that's not just one account. Some of it's from conservation, some of it's from the juvenile court services,
okay,
some of it's from sheriff. I mean,
The court expenditure was the mandated one that we had to pay for that court. The
Correct.
the juvenile,
correct.
that
I mean, that
was,
one's kind of a guesstimate when we don't really know at the beginning of the year.
and that was,
Sometimes we end with a balance and sometimes we don't.
and that's a mandated juvenile that is court ordered. And that was close to $40,000 for that one. And that is one that you never know.
yeah, okay.
No questions on those? No?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's on. We have the transfers on the next one.
Do you want
Do you want to go ahead and do a motion on
to,
that?
we need to close
We've got to
the,
close the hearing, but,
talk about the
the
transfer.
transfers included in that.
That's one question, I guess, like,
Okay,
so we're transferring money out of lost.
we have to do that
And so
when,
this was in the
yeah.
budget last year.
Yep, okay,
So, and we did the same thing. We'll have the same thing for next year. It's in the budget already.
this is where we're in the spreadsheet, the money is in there to pay them and you pay, it's a convoluted thing. It's where you put the money, you pay the money out of loss, but you transfer it into the other
The other funds.
into the other funds to pay it.
okay,
And you can see that on your spreadsheets when you're done at budget
Yep.
time. You see that if you remember that, yeah.
okay,
So that's what that transfer is. And then your other transfer is when you at budget time, you budget money from rural basic into secondary road fund that we have to do every year.
And then
so we
into
do that into
conservation, into public health.
Right. So those are also mandatory.
Okay.
That we budget every year. Does everybody understand all of that? If so, we can close the public hearing then.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Okay, we have a second.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And now we'll go for the resolutions. We have resolutions 23, 24, and 25. I think we can probably do those all together. The resolution is for the appropriations for the amendment. That's 23. And then since we talked about these for the transfers for the 24 and 25, I think we can do all three of those at one time, if that's all right with you. If we can have a motion for those three. 23 for the appropriations for the amendment, and 24 and 25 for the transfers. If I would hear a motion for those.
I'll make a motion that we pass or approve resolution 23, 24, and 25.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of those three motions?
Aye.
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 All in favor? Okay. Motions are all carried. Okay. Just sign all those. Just one. That's all we do. Okay. Okay. Got that done. Okay. Okay. On to our county engineer.
Good afternoon, JD King, Page County Engineer. It's a lovely day of rain in Page County.
Yes.
We bladed most of the day. And of course, our operations tomorrow depend on whether it continues to rain overnight or doesn't. Engineer update with its attachments went out yesterday afternoon. We're blading in the districts, most districts. Rock haul continues in the north center part of ARPA, and we're hauling shoulder rock to the stockpile on J64. We're replacing the bridge on La Perla Drive southwest, immediately southwest of Clarinda, replacing the bridge with a large pipe. That's underway. They're pulling the bridge out now. Had a couple mowers running. Otherwise, I saw one in the shop today. Spray pressure was out, and we'll borrow a shoulder machine from the neighboring county to help us with shouldering once we get our stockpiles in place within next week, perhaps. It's a handy little piece of equipment that we share. Well, we borrow from them when we need to. It's really expensive. We have a truck in Omaha getting looked at after a little incident in town here. The power problem that our single axle used truck had was an emission regen issue. Thanks to, the emission continue to make problems. There's some cleanup of trucks and pickups, and our new fuel pump system should be in early to mid-June. It's replacing our towers and pumps.
Okay.
Work continues on the Essex Bridge, although not today due to rain. They're working on the open rail. The open rail on the east side of the bridge is complete, and they have open rail to do on the west side remaining, and then bridge wings, approaches, and some paving to hook it into with the mainline paving. We continue with project development work, Yorktown Bridge project and roadway is one of them, Farm to Market Rock project, beginning plans for that. The work will be done next spring, and we're working on closing out some other old projects. On the 20th of June, there's a Hungry Canyons meeting up in Denison, I believe. The new director will be in charge of that one. But John Thomas, previous director for Long Reach Canyons, has moved away. Questions for the engineer about the engineer's update?
How much did number 40 cost us to repair?
I don't know.
Don't know yet.
He did a regen and it worked again, but there's a sensor you gotta check out. So I don't have that answer yet. We move on to the next agenda item. It's another utility permit. It was sent in along with an email. I don't have a hard copy with you today, but it's taking fiber from on the west side of 71 near Washington Street, up Tolbert and north to a cell tower, very similar to the one from Arion a couple weeks ago. Must be redoing the major work on it. Yes, that one is in the purple. Shown in purple.
Yep.
Thank you. I need a motion.
You need a motion on that. I'll make a
to
motion.
approve that.
We approve that permit for FMTC fiber.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you. Next agenda item for road department is the parking lot quotes, detailed, which was asked for last week. And Nick Hires here to discuss that with you.
Nick Hire, engineer technician. Last week I presented 3 quotes to cover the materials and labor for the parking lot, proposed parking lot and sidewalk upgrades on the southwest corner of the annex building where the engineer's office has been moved to. Handed you each a packet that has the updated explanation towards the items. I know the concern was that there wasn't enough detail in the previous estimate. He has gone through and updated the quantities, the dimensions, depths, widths listed in there with his estimate. Be happy to answer any questions about it if you have any.
Okay, you updated on the Barnes and Son concrete. Is there some discussion on this?
I think it looks better than what they had. I mean, but yeah, I think that's the reason why. I'm assuming we're taking out the sidewalk and everything. We're doing all that.
Yes, underneath the labor on the first page, you can see excludes grading, backfilling, survey, and sealing of joints, painting of parking lot lines.
Okay.
And on the second page, I believe there is an exclusion. Excludes removal of old sidewalk and grade rock.
Yeah.
That will all be handled by our guys with our equipment.
And their total amount was 56,000.
Correct.
Can you guys do the sidewalks?
What was that?
Can you guys pour the sidewalks?
We will do the grade work and the
I know
sub-base
that.
work for it. Yeah.
But can you do the sidewalks?
We don't have any concrete guys. I mean, we could do it just about as anybody else could do it, but these people are professionals and we would want that to be handled as such.
Do we know what the estimated cost would be for the county for doing the dirt work and all the excavating things?
I do not know off the top of my head how long it would take to get that done. Kind of depends on our own scheduling.
Yeah.
You know, we obviously the roads and maintaining the county will be
Right.
the priority for that. So if we have extra guys or downtime guys, things of that nature that we can throw at it, it could speed it up, could slow it down.
Where's that money come from then for this project? Does that come out of just out of your regular? Okay.
Now stop.
And we need that big of a parking lot for what reason?
That parking lot will have 6 to 7 parking spaces. That will have parking for myself, the office manager's personal vehicles, my county truck, JD's county truck. There will be 2 spots that possibly could hold the emergency management county vehicle. Jill's on the second floor with us. It'd be a much easier access for her to get to the second floor as it is now. And then there would be 1 extra spot for handicap. There'll be a handicap parking accessible there to avoid the extra set of steps. And there would be 1 more parking for public entry into our building. As it is now, when people come to the engineer's office, most of them enter through the east side of the building and they stop at every door on that first floor asking, is this where they're
Where to
supposed to
go.
be? I think it'll just direct flow. And I believe there was a public health meeting today. And
Right.
I had trouble getting my truck backed out of my stall when I went home for lunch. I'm very slowly, cautiously, so I didn't ding anybody. It just alleviates a lot of congestion in that area. I know that parking lot on the east side is large, but it's narrow. And there isn't any designated parking on the far east side of that. It's just the overflow, I suppose. It would eliminate congestion and make it easier for everyone to get in and out of the building where they're supposed to be and eliminate confusion on where everybody's at. The sidewalk improvements, I believe, are necessary because there's huge chunks of sidewalk missing and uneven all the way around that.
We could put some more signage on there too.
Is that I guess that 1 sidewalk, is that the city's?
Which one sidewalk are you?
The sidewalk on the west side that they were talking about putting in that's not finished. It's got,
Yes, that
so
would be
that would technically be the city's.
correct. And
Right.
I mentioned last week.
Oh,
that
yeah,
the
you
city
told me
has
about
a
the grant.
match grant that will cover half of the cost for all of the parallel sidewalk.
Okay, gotcha.
The only sidewalk that will be directly 100% covered will be the 6-foot wide sidewalk that runs from the south door towards Washington Street.
And I think you said that was what, 6,000? It'd be half of what the 12,500?
Yes, the sidewalk bid is on the second page, just for the sidewalks. So including the parallel sidewalks is 6,000 in materials and 6,500 in labor, but that will be cut in half with that match grant.
Yep, okay.
Or 12.5, yeah, 12.5 cut in half.
Yep, so
How many feet of this parking lot's gonna be over the old burial grounds there?
The old church foundation.
Yeah,
So we have it laid out right now. It'll be roughly a quarter of it probably. It'll be the far west quarter, which we will not have any parking lines painted there. So it will not be under constant load. It'll just be traveling traffic.
do we know the compression, how much compression and compaction we got there?
We do not. But
So in
that's
10
going
years, this will all fall in and cave in.
I don't know that off the top of my head. But I know we have rollers and sheet foots so we can compact and add dirt and fill if need be to level it all out. We will ensure that it is a solid base before we spend the money on a parking lot to go over it. It won't be, for lack of a better term, half done.
Do we know if they compacted it when they buried that?
I do not.
Any other questions? More questions?
no, I guess I mean, my only concern with it totally doesn't really matter as far as what quote we're going with, but just the county side of it, you know, how we budget it. If we get into something that's an issue, whenever you do construction, there's always something
Right.
that might come up or, you know, like,
JD said they're gonna take care of it.
so, yeah, but still
With
comes
what?
back in the county.
It's still,
So, yeah, so that would be my only concern is making sure that we're prepared for stuff that would happen when putting it in or doing all the excavating dirt work and things. I still think this Barnes and Sons being the lowest bid, and then with the 6,000 off of that, with the sidewalk piece of it, then gives us around 50,000, I think, for it, which isn't terribly out of line for that size of project. Yep. So,
Okay. Do we
so
hear
I
a-
mean, I would make the motion that we go with this Barnes and Son Concrete Professionals for the 43.5 and then the 12.5 with the plus the 6 off of that. So
Do I hear a second? Okay, all in favor?
did you say no?
No,
You said no?
no second.
No second. Okay. Okay.
So it'll be up to you.
All right. Okay. And your objection is because,
Don't think we need it right now. We just need to get the sidewalks done.
we get the sidewalks done around the building.
Well, we need to get our sidewalks, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think we did enough research as far as getting bids. We just got some quotes.
Okay.
I think there's still more
It
contractors
was
out.
asked on, so I did have somebody ask me about bids. And a project like this, do you open it up to bids wherever you find them, or do you send them to 3 specific people that you send them to, these 3?
I reached out to these three. There was a asphalt company that I reached out to in Atlantic. It was kind of a word of mouth, who does the type of work. Uh, the ones that we knew of, and it was these three and an asphalt company out of Atlantic. But the asphalt company out of Atlantic didn't do any concrete work, so they wouldn't have been able to handle the sidewalk portion of it. So we didn't include that. Theirs was just for an asphalt parking lot, and we knew that the sidewalks would need attention as well. So we just put them all together. So I reached out to Sticklers, Barnes and Son, and 10 Point Construction. Also, there was a company, FG12, out of Western Iowa metro area, Omaha. They service everything from Omaha south, both sides of the river. They never responded. And those were all of the local contractors that I knew of. So that's who I reached out to.
What's the other one?
Well, there's 3D here in town. I don't know what Shannon's got.
My,
Well, I know like T Myers do just asphalt. They're pretty much just like, or they used to. I don't know if they still do anything like that. They used to be parking lot. Yeah, they used to do parking lots like that.
As for local contractors, I don't have a whole lot of personal relationships with any of them or know them by name. I mostly just know the big outfits that handle the bridges and roads projects. So
I guess the concern that I had when you mentioned the number of, today there was a meeting there, and that's a once a month meeting. So it's, it's once a month, that's all there is.
Yeah.
So that's not a real concern of, the parking places. And the other thing is when there are, people that are parked, like Jill parks down below normally, so that's not a real concern either. And as far as people walking through the building, if we put signage in, we could have signage in there for people to walk through the building. It's not a big deal. And I know people can walk around the building. And that's a good thing, is to have the new concrete around the building. That would be a good thing to have that done. So, maybe we should put it on hold and do some more checking. So I guess I would vote no at this point, and do some more checking on concrete and get the concrete done around the building. If we could do that. So I guess I would vote no. So I guess it would go down. So, so we need to go back and check on that.
So what do you want them to do?
I guess that vote fails.
Do you want them to get more
I think,
bids?
we need
Try
to do
to
more
get a few more
bids.
bids? I don't know if that's feasible or not, but
The only
Um,
concern I have with that is the bid has been
right,
read out loud, so
Yeah,
anybody who bids
that's
now
true.
is going to come in under that.
yeah. I guess maybe
well, if we can get it cheaper, that'd be better.
but you mentioned that the concern around the building.
I think we just need to do what has to be done.
Yeah.
Sidewalks.
And then see about the,
If you did sidewalks and then, I don't know, if you could have a gravel lot there to park in. Could you
The
have,
issue with the
could you have
gravel lot becomes snow removal. We will
That's
have to
true.
clean that parking lot off, and if you
that's true.
do snow removal over gravel, all you're gonna do is lose a bunch of gravel and have to spend more money over time.
I've had one for 35 years, got along good, so. It'll compact. I think we'll find we'll be way better off down the road. Let it compact a little bit, put your gravel lot in, get your base.
Put the gravel in at the designed location.
Yeah, that's fine.
So parallel sidewalks and the 6-foot sidewalk from the front door to the street is okay to do with Barnes and Son, and then we will do a gravel parking lot.
Unless you go back to bid, just have to bid that portion of it.
He bid them separately, so I think we could
We could go ahead and do the sidewalk.
just approve the sidewalks, but not the parking lot. And then it would be up to him whether or not he would accept the job.
and just make a motion on the sidewalk.
I just make a motion on sidewalk and do a gravel parking.
Can we hold off a little bit on the gravel on the,
I think we need to wait on the gravel,
wait on the gravel?
on the concrete. I'd gravel, go ahead and make a gravel parking lot just like they wanted. That way you do have some overflow there. And get sidewalks to walk to the building.
That parking lot would then be limited to only employee parking lot. It would not be handicap accessible. Handicap accessible parking lots have to have pavement,
Absolutely.
hard
Yeah.
surface.
There's handicap down below. Yeah. Right.
So we would still be covered because we have the handicap below, right, on the concrete.
Yes.
So it would
Yes.
still be,
And it would be easier with the other around too, to come around. If you put the sidewalk around the building,
Yeah, that short section of sidewalk from the front door.
that would be much easier.
Eliminate those
That-
3 steps that are there and
Yes, that's easier.
slope it out.
Yeah. But
We can do that.
that'd be okay.
yeah,
Okay, let's do that. All
I'll
right,
second that.
Okay, motion. All right. All in favor of doing the
Sidewalks.
sidewalk around the building and the sidewalk up above, right? To do the sidewalk all around.
It would be all of the sidewalk
All of the
incorporated in
sidewalk,
plans.
yes, okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Okay, we've got that. All right. Okay. Long way around, but we're there.
All
Okay,
right, thank you very much.
thanks, Nick. Okay. Sidewalk only for now. Okay. Okay, we're ready for Jeff. Are you there, Jeff?
Everybody, how are we doing today?
Good, how are you?
I agree with JD. It's a little rainy out there, so I know Brian's in the audience there. He'll give you an update, and then I'll ad lib and answer any questions you may have of me.
Okay, on site this week so far, Stickler's been on site doing interior footings and, well, they poured some footings, yesterday and we're digging. Today they were there this morning for a couple hours working on stripping some forms. Cunningham Plumbing was on site, Monday working on underground. Today they were on site doing some, inside work. O'Neill was on site these past 2 days, working on boxes and stuff for the block walls. I'm also meeting with Moose Transportation for the precast deliveries on site when that happens. So we'll see what we need to back people up or have them parked on the road or wherever before they come into the job site for unloading. That's kind of what I've got going.
Okay, busy.
Yeah.
So then, a couple other things to add to that. Again, of course, is we did experience rain today, so we'll be somewhat limited with some activities tomorrow. But it looks like everything seems to be holding up well. We are currently still on a holding pattern. One thing everybody understands and realizes is we're close to the airport and the helipad. And when you have a crane in the air, we have to make sure that the FAA gives us the permit for us to put the crane boom in the air. So we're still waiting on that final FAA approval. They go through, I do believe, 14 different entities that have to give it the blessing for us to be able to do this swing operation, which there's trees around the area that are taller than what the crane will be sticking up. So it's a formality, but unfortunately it's a formality that we still have to go through. So we're continuing to do with that. As you can see with the daily photos and stuff that you guys get in the daily logs, the lower, what we call the weight-bearing masonry walls over in the dispatch area where it's carrying the roof plank, the first course and some of the second and third course where we tie into exterior, the exterior foundations. That's work has been complete and backfill done there. And then a lot of the deep underground sanitary for Cunningham's team is in position. So things continue to move on there. Like Brian said, we are talking with Moose and we're in daily communications with Enterprise Concrete. The exterior precast walls are 99.9% complete, waiting for delivery, and then the remainder of the roof plank, the precast columns and beams are at about 94% complete. So everything's trending accordingly. Get a little bit more break in the weather here. We planned on bringing the masons in and working in the areas where we won't be interfering. So that way we can keep the progress on the project moving forward with this little bit of a hiccup with waiting on the FAA or their feds. So other than that, again, spirits are good, no lost time injuries. So that's boding really well. That's always a good plus. Enterprise Industry, A&W Enterprises, AKA Crane, have put in that retention pond, and then it has the outflow structures along with manholes that have been installed, and their final seeding and erosion control mats have been approved. So as soon as we get the break in the weather, they'll be installing those in areas where we won't have construction ongoing there to get that stabilized. So I think open for any questions you all may have.
When does that, when does this delay from the FAA start becoming a problem? Is it, if it goes on for a week or two, is that?
No, that won't. So the way we'll keep moving on this is we had some activities that were slated to start after the precast erection was ongoing. We've actually got those going in front. We were utilizing what we call as-built drawings, so we know exactly where all the pipes are, underground conduits are. When we go to put in the helical piers that will be holding the pipe shores for the exterior precast walls on the interior. So as of right now, it hasn't affected the schedule. I would say if we experience a 3 to 4 week delay, that could potentially have some ramifications with that. But in the overall schedule itself, we do have 15 weather days built into the schedule towards the latter portion of it for substantial completion. So typically we keep those kind of in the background when we get into the winter months. This as far as getting construction teams to the site. So as of right now, we're trending okay. Ultimately, I would say, again, like 3 to 4 weeks, I think we may start seeing potential issue, but we have ways of navigating that also, Todd.
So hopefully it won't take too long to get them approved.
No, the big one that I was kind of, when they said 14 different entities that have to go through the approval process, that bothered me a little bit, but then the communication that we've had, it's in for the final approvals. When I say finals, all those 14 entities have responded back. So, and everything that we're hearing again is that it's unfortunately a formality. It's FAA. Everybody understands some of the situations that have gone on with the federal government. They would like to expedite a little bit quicker, but they understand this is of high importance. So we'll keep moving forward. We have been in contact with the ER department at the hospital there with the helipad, and we have protocols that will be put into position for when Life Flight or the Mercy Copter comes in. The crane boom itself will have a red beacon on it, then also has a orange and white checkered flag. And again, that communication is all part of this FFA permitting process that we go, FAA, not FFA, FAA permitting that we go through.
Very good. Okay, we're ready.
Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to get some, everybody's ready to get precast standing and get the interiors going. We want it dried in, ready to go so we can keep going and get the rest of the interior finishes completed during the winter months. That's where everybody likes to kind of hide out when we have these nice climate controlled winters here in Iowa. So
Yeah.
we'll
Good.
keep moving forward. All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for your time. You guys have a great evening.
Yep.
You too. Okay. All right. Okay, we're moving on to discussing two different people to the Clarinda Library Board. The Clarinda City Council has already appointed the two people to the library board, so we just need to appoint them. One is Rebecca Asherle to replace Alan Asherle for the 6-year term. So we need to appoint Rebecca Asherle to the and this is to appoint a rural person, the Rebecca Asherle to replace Alan Asherle for the term of 7/1/25 to 6/30/31. So could I have a motion for that one, please?
Motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carried. And our second one is to appoint Megan Brown to the library board to replace Ally Wellhausen from 7/1/25 to 6/30/31. This is again a 6-year term. So could I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion is also carried. Okay, now our next appointment is to just discuss, tree conservation board members and how we want to go about this. And this is, we've lost 3 conservation board members, 3 conservation board members turned in their resignations, and so we need to appoint 3 conservation board members, and we have, I believe, 9 applications. And so it is up to us to appoint 9 people, or 3 people out of 9.
Yeah.
So whether we want to interview 9 people, whether we want to have the 2 people that are left on the conservation board to discuss and interview those people, or how we want to do that. So it's up to us to decide.
I would say we have them come in and interview them.
To us, we interviewed the
Yeah.
9 people. Okay. Okay, that's
That'd
up
be
to us
fun.
to do that. Okay. Okay,
Just need to set up a
And-
time, or is
okay.
you gonna do it during regular meeting? How do you usually,
Do it, we could do it at the end of next week's meeting.
At the end of next week's meeting?
Yeah, after we, do you want to do it that way or do you want to have it on a special day?
It's however you choose. We can try to do it at the end of next week's meeting. That would be fine. Does that work with you?
So give us enough time to get a hold of all of them.
We have how many here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here.
So
1, 2.
does that work for you guys?
You guys all raised your hands.
Next Tuesday?
We're talking after our 4 o'clock meeting, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 here, so yeah. Okay. So we could just do that, just do them alphabetical and we could just do that, okay? Okay, we could do that. Okay. We'll just count on that then. I guess you can come back next week. Okay. We'll plan on that. We don't know yet what's going to be on next week's agenda, but we'll see. Okay. We will plan on, probably, I don't know, what, 15 minutes apiece?
Yeah. I would say
15 minutes each?
less than that, probably.
10
I
to
don't, is that something we'd like maybe Michelle to be a part of?
Sure.
Would you like to be a
Michelle,
part
can
of
you be
that,
a part?
Michelle?
And Charlie?
Can you make that work?
Michelle and Charlie, those? Michelle and Charlie be a part of it? Okay,
Okay, that sounds good.
okay. Okay. 10 to 15 minutes each,
how
Okay.
often do they have meetings?
once a month, normally.
So they don't have a quorum now?
Okay. Yeah, they're not planning on one this month, right? Because you just have 2 people, so yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, so we'll contact if Kristen, you can contact the ones who aren't here and we'll get them all here. Okay, the end of our meeting next week. Okay. Okay. That'll take care of it. Okay. You don't need to stay for the rest of the meeting tonight if you don't care to do that. So, anyway, that'll be fine. Yes, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Charles. Okay, okay, and we'll move on to our opioid presentation from Richard Mullen. So,
Good evening. First, I'd like to say thank you for just allowing me to be put on the agenda to
Yes.
discuss this. So,
thank you.
so what I would like to do is seek approval to gain access to some of the opioid funds, settlement funds that are available. And my goal is to develop and set up what's called an IRRT, which is an integrated recovery resource team approach. That approach is something that is typically done outside of the normal therapeutic setting. Okay, these are wraparound services that would be provided to Page County residents, and strictly only Page County residents. If it's a child who is outside of Page County residents, they have to show proof that they are enrolled in one of the school systems here within Page County to ensure that the dollars get utilized and stay within Page County. So an IRRT process is all about wraparound services, warm handoffs, and the no wrong door approach. And these services are, like I said, are typically done outside of the normal therapeutic setting or counseling session. So these services would look like resume building, career planning. It would be like, do you have access to medical care? Do you need assistance with filling out state applications for like Medicaid, SNAP, FIP, those type of things like that? Do you need help with assistance with filing for unemployment? Searching for jobs, improving technology skills, because there's a lot of people out there that still feel very uncomfortable living in our digital world. One of the main goals also is to work with justice people who are kind of hooked to the justice system at this point. at this point in time, the incarcerated population as well. And so, we look at incarceration rates and we look at how important these wraparound services become for people of how do we prevent reincarceration, how do we reintegrate back into society and those type of things like that. And so these funds are earmarked for people who have substance use disorders. And there are core strategies within the exhibits that was provided through the allocations of how the dollars are to be spent. And there's approved strategies as well that you guys have access to those documentation. So with the IRT process and the approach, it's really working within our communities to really impact substance use and reduce the use of substance use disorder, as including opiate use disorder. And opiate use disorder is not, I know it's tongue tied, right? Opiate use disorder is not typically based in medication as we think it anymore. We have two really wonderful hospitals that do a great job with pain management and finding alternatives other than prescribing opiates. So that is less of a concern than what is the fentanyl and the carfentanil that's coming in and how it's being put into other drugs such as marijuana, methamphetamine, and those type of substances like that. So people who become addicted to marijuana or methamphetamine don't even know that they are taking an opiate at the same time. Okay, and so in December or January, what kind of woke me up to the need of this is, well, let me start here. I spent the last 22 years working in substance use at all levels. I was a CEO clear down to providing direct care services. So I've seen it all, I've done it all, kind of concept. And so October, I woke up one day, it's like, I really want to open my own private practice, and I did so over in Villisca. So I have a private practice providing substance abuse services, and it's outpatient services, individualized care. And so I also continued noticing throughout my years of working in substance abuse that these wraparound services that are typically not fundable, we just don't have time for those. We just don't spend time for those because they're not a reimbursable service. Okay. But people need to have that chance and opportunity to have a resume so that they become employable. We want to teach soft skills. I want to be able to teach anger management courses and conflict resolution courses, criminal thinking courses. Those type of courses are not reimbursable through like Medicaid services or insurances or things like that. And the opiate use funds will have a direct impact on people preventing opiates, because prevention is just not going into a school and doing presentation. That's a prevention model that's out there, yes, but prevention is also, do you have a resume to become employable? Do you have career planning? Do you have the soft skills necessary that employers are looking for? Because let me tell you, soft skills in the work environment is how do you work with coworkers? How do you resolve conflict? How do you work as a team? Those type of things are just as important in preventing opiate use disorders and other substance use disorders. And the exhibits of how the opiate use dollars are to be allocated are very concise on some, but are very open on others. And so it says wraparound services, warm handoffs, and other co-occurring disorders. So it's opiates and other co-occurring disorders. So it could be somebody who has an alcohol problem that also could potentially develop an opiate use disorder down the road. Working with people who have multi-generational addiction concerns, who were children and young adults who are raised in a home that opiates and or other drugs were prevalent, is how do we prevent them from going on and developing a substance use disorder down the road as well? Or do we have those skills in place for these individuals to come in and to grow? So I want to be able to make this opportunity to develop this integrated resource recovery team and, seek the funds to be able to do that. And so it becomes, like I said, back in December, January, if you recall a report through the Omaha News, is that 31 pounds of fentanyl was seized. So 31 pounds. I mean, if you get your mind wrapped around how much fentanyl can actually kill a person, it's minute compared to the 31 pounds. And so when I read that report, I was like, what are we doing, and what can we do better as a society to help and offer those type of resources? So I came up with the idea of an integrated resource recovery team, and it's like, then obviously I want to be able to be funded for that so that we can have a direct impact on the overall health of the people in the community. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in taking up your guys' time. You still have an agenda in front of you, but my ask in regards to access to it is I would like to provide 64 hours of contact time per month, which would be reimbursed at $3,000 per month. And I would also like to ask that 108,000 of that be set aside to run the program for 3 years. Because that's typically what, typically in 3 years, we can make a dent and make an impact in improving the overall health within the community. Because it was just funded for 1 year, we're really kind of spinning our wheels, and there's no point that. And then plus the allocation of Page County, I believe, was like $417,000 and some change. And that leaves plenty of room for other entities and other people that have initiatives that they want to kind of come in and develop their own initiatives as well. So it's just like, this is going to be one additional layer of how those funds can backfill, and really, like I said, building that relationship with Page County law enforcement. So when people who become incarcerated, they have something to basically already in their hand before they get released. So meeting with that person on their level at that time and saying, what got you incarcerated? What didn't you have in place? So that's going to help, prevent and reduce rearrests and the continued use of crime and things like that. So, and the other ask would be an in-kind office space to provide those 16 hours consecutive days per week. Which that's, then I started the conversation with Sam, who's the public health administrator for both Page and Montgomery. And my goal is obviously, which is you guys already know has been approved in Montgomery County, is to mirror this program in these 2 counties. Because one of the biggest passions I've always had, and I've always talked about, if you've ever talked to me, was we have a huge depopulation going in rural counties. Okay. And when depopulation starts to happen, there's less resources and money allocated to rural Iowa. Okay. We're definitely rural Iowa. Montgomery County and Page County are pretty rural Iowa. And so when those funds start to disappear because the people start to disappear, how do we keep people who are staying and prepared? How do we address, the people who are coming into the workforce and the people who are leaving the workforce? Because we just can't identify the young population. Older adults are also experiencing an increase in opiate use disorders at an alarming rate as well. And that's a national average. So the more that we can do, the more that we can put these type of resources in place, it gives people an outlet to come and continue to receive that help. And it's outside of a normal setting. And which is great about that is people who can access it don't need to meet the DSM criteria for a substance use disorder. It's for anybody and everybody whose lives have been impacted by a substance use disorder and or opiate use disorder. So someone off the streets says, yeah, my mom and dad used, most of my life growing up and they don't use, they can access the services. Do they have a resume? Do they have career planning? Do they have all these things to prevent later on life onset of a substance use disorder? So that would be, and then the last ask I would have is a dedicated computer so that, because it would be Page County's data that I would be also providing you guys on a monthly report of how well the services are going, the outcomes, because, I'm a huge data guy. I kind of start nerding out when I talk about data, but I want to be able to provide a really clear data-driven results outcome measures to you guys as well to show that the money being allocated is actually impacting the way it should be being impacted, because that's the whole point of it. Why start something if you're not going to have a positive impact or a positive outcome with it? So, and like I said, I do, want to mirror this into both counties because I think that both counties, Page and Montgomery County, we experience a lot of what's called back and forth flow. There's residents in Montgomery County that come over to Page County all the time and vice versa. So we want to capture that kind of circle to say that we have this program already in place, but making sure that people who are eligible for the Page County dollars can provide a proof of residency so that those dollars stay in Page County and they're meant for the Page County communities and things like that. So, so that's my presentation as far as that. I told you I was going to keep it short. This is not a new concept of an IRT, but it is a new concept within our communities. And one of the other biggest pieces is recovery-related housing. How do we get people who who can't provide a valid recommendation or a valid reference to be able to rent a home to stay within the community? How do we teach people how to become good tenants again who've had a SUD concern or a history or incarcerations, and those type of things like that. So I'm just not looking at just one piece of it. I want to look at the whole big picture of how can we make this person healthier and how can we revitalize our communities and keep revitalizing our communities through new businesses, through new opportunities, through a viable workforce, all the aspects of everything that impacts our community. So that's my asks for those is, and then, like I said, the allocation of the $3,000 per month for 64 hours of contact services. So, and then obviously I'll leave room for questions. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any thoughts, any concerns?
You said that Montgomery County approved?
Yeah, they
this?
approved it a couple of weeks ago. And
Okay. The same asks that you were asking us?
Correct. Yep. And my goal is to start everything July. So, I'd like to be placed on the agenda again for approval or denial in regards to those asks. And like I said, I've talked with Sam, and Sam has done a wonderful job as far as I feel in regards to really kind of standing up and being a champion for public health. And we all know addiction is a public health concern. It's becoming a public health nightmare, actually. So we want to definitely be able to get ahead of this as much as we possibly can.
64 hours, is that a month?
64 hours a month would be 2 consecutive days a week, correct? And that would ebb and flow. So like if I'm in Page County and I'm going to implement like some type of new program and getting it off the ground, it might require more time, those type of things, or attending like the county fairs and things like that, because I would be responsible for the media, for the advertising, I'd be responsible for just getting the program out there for people to know that they can utilize. And so we all know the first 3-4 months will be just also setting up the infrastructure of the program as well and getting it within the communities and talking with other entities and resources and other organizations that would be able to refer people to the program as well. So
you have other staff or just you?
nope, it's just me. Yeah, I have no plans on making a huge agency or anything like that. But I've always wanted to, when I first started the agency, or when I even first started in substance abuse, it was just one of those things we just don't spend a whole lot of time doing, and there's nobody out there providing that either. So when I woke up one day, realized I was 50 and realized I always wanted to start my own agency, I was like, I better do it now or it's never going to happen. So that's kind of what drove this whole kind of project for myself as well. And I've really dedicated myself to Southwest Iowa for years and years and years. I was located at the Zion Residential for 20 years as the assistant director of the entire agency, but my office was located at the residential program. So
When you talked to Sam about an in-kind office space, did she say over at the annex?
yeah, there was which I can only describe this room. It was the meeting room where we sat people after they got their COVID shot when I was public health administrator there.
Okay.
It's that room right there that
Okay.
they said that we could utilize.
Okay.
Or could utilize.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Okay, and you did say $3,000 per month.
Per month, not to exceed, correct? Yep. Okay. If I do more time, that's just on me.
Okay.
Yep. So.
Okay. Okay.
And you guys will get monthly reports of everything, because I believe transparency is the most important thing back and forth. So, which I think you guys, I think Judy and Todd knows that when you guys are on the board, when I was public health administrator, I sent out weekly reports of what we're doing and things like that. So.
Okay. Okay.
And then the reports wouldn't have anybody's name because
Correct.
of HIPAA.
Right.
Right.
Oh, and thank you for bringing that up. I
Yeah.
did forget
And
that.
malpractice insurance, would that be something the
I have-
county would need to cover?
I have $3 million of malpractice already in place.
Okay.
So I have that taken care of. And the other thing is I would do all state reporting of it, because I believe a yearly report is due of how the money's being allocated. I would also take care of that yearly report.
And how about the individuals in insurance? Do they have
So
insurance then?
this would be a free program.
Okay,
Yeah, there will be no cost to this program, and that removes any barriers of people accessing this kind of wraparound service.
okay, but are they will they be on an insurance of some kind? Will they be on Medicare, Medicaid, or?
Oh, they could be, but that has no bearings to it
Okay,
whatsoever.
so you won't be filing insurance for them or doing anything?
No, I will
Okay.
not. That'd be considered double dipping. I wouldn't do that.
Okay,
So,
okay, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 And so this won't have any effect. I know Charlotte was concerned about it having an effect on Zion.
So this would not have any effect because this is considered wraparound services. It's not a treatment service, right? And as they're working with me, if they need a referral for substance abuse, they'd be provided a list of qualified organizations, like just like in regards to if they need mental health, what is there, Wabansi and Midwest? Is it Midwest Mental Health here?
We have Wabansi here.
Yeah. So it'd be, and then you got the hospital who has a mental health. So they'd be provided a choice because everybody has that choice and have that right to choose where they want to be treated at. So they'd be provided with choices and things like that, and I would help them link them to those services as well. You know, those make one warm handoff to another warm handoff, and that's the recovery resource team approach. Is realizing that not one entity can do it alone. We need to hook all these entities together and moving in the same direction.
Okay.
You know, and I have a vast knowledge of if people need a referral to a residential program, I know that ins and outs. And so if people whose use are out of their own control is hooking them to a residential program within the state of Iowa, that's either if they don't have insurance, IPN funded programs, which whether that means this, they go and they still receive free treatment through the IPN grant monies, or if they're Medicaid, or if they do have insurance and Blue Cross Blue Shield and know which programs take which one. So, because they're all unique in their own way.
So you'll need a laptop of some kind.
Yeah, and then Corey can work his magic on that. Put all his IT stuff on it.
You would need Corey to put whatever on it.
Right. And like I said, I'd give you numbers and data, but just no names because of HIPAA. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the media costs that you talked about, would that be paid for by the county?
No. So the media cost is, you know, there's so many avenues we can take with free media anymore. And I would utilize those resources and bringing other entities on board as well as putting it into their newsletters and, you know, things like that. There's a lot of ways we can do to help save and conserve money in that aspect of it. So.
We need to discuss it a little bit.
Good. Appreciate it. And I guess, you know, July 1 is just knocking around the door because
I know. It's amazing. It's June already.
I know. So I don't know if it's possible to have that as an agenda item for approval or denial at the next meeting or not.
Yeah.
Just let me know. I believe, Kristen, you have my email at least. So, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, and I appreciate it, guys.
Yes.
Yep, thank you.
Can you have a card?
What's that?
Do you have a card?
I left him in the car.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, as long as Kristen's got something, that's fine. Yeah.
I have it. I can send all of this information to you guys.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Yes, okay. I'll turn it back over. Okay. Okay, thanks, Richard. Okay, we've got Kelsey to talk to. Kelsey, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. How's it going down there?
Well, we're just a little busy tonight.
I hear that. All
Yes.
right. I have 2 follow-ups from last week I can share with you guys. The first is you had asked about the overhead wires and what the plan was for those as deliveries were coming. We've done an initial review of that and don't foresee any impacts. The clearance of the overhead wires appears to be in good shape, but we'll continue to evaluate that as deliveries get closer. And so in any case, we would just imagine some small one or two here or there type of impacts, but overall, we really think that that's not going to be a part of the deliveries for this project. The other item was we had talked last week about the foundations for the turbines. So foundation pouring has started in Fremont County. We are working on prepping the sites for foundation work in Page County. That dirt work is expected to continue for the next couple of weeks with foundation pours right now. Of course, the weather is causing our schedule to change almost daily at this point, but right now looking at that last week of June to start the foundation pours in Page County. So I'll just continue to provide updates on those as well as we get closer to turbine deliveries and tower erections, all of those big milestones as they get closer. So that's what I have for updates, but happy to take any questions or concerns as well.
Okay, and you did see the things on Facebook from Sherry Hunter, I think, maybe on the thing going across the road and her questions. Whoops.
Yeah, I saw some folks here internally saw the Facebook video. We addressed that with our crew, and I had sent you guys last night the email just that we had sent out to make sure everyone's on the same page with that, with our expectations going forward. So hopefully that shows that we took that seriously, took immediate action, not only addressed that one issue, but also worked on a communication that would set us up for success in that going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate
Thank you.
the answer and the feedback, or at least being able to get a hold of you quickly. So that was good. Thank you.
Good. You
Yes, we
bet.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thanks for sending that our way. We've got a lot of people down there, but can't have our eyes and ears every single place. So really appreciate you guys bringing that to our attention.
I think it helps to have you on with us every week too. So yeah.
Good. Happy to be here.
Yes. Didn't get you on an agenda, but we knew you were here. So anyway, we'll get you on the agenda and we'll know. So if there's anything else
Okay.
that you need from us, that will help. So yeah.
Okay.
You
Yep.
know,
I will be on every week, or John Huff on my team is listening in this week. There may be some weeks that I'm not able to give the update, so he would be prepared to do that. But we'll give thorough updates every couple of weeks. I think we'll have some substantial pieces, but then we can also just be here to answer questions or concerns and make sure we're communicating on a weekly basis at this time.
Okay.
So.
That sounds good. And then if we have more questions, then we can ask. So
yeah,
we appreciate that very much. So
yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Anything else for Kelsey?
No.
Anything else?
Not right
No?
now.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks,
Okay.
Kelsey.
Have a good night.
Good night. You too. Okay, we can move on to our claims, discuss an action of claims.
Make a motion, we approve claims.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's all approved.
I did see we left out board communication
We
on the
did.
agenda.
We did. We did. Well,
I
we'll,
just noticed that when I got down to the end.
okay, we'll go back to that.
No board of
Okay, board
communication.
communication.
But
I missed a meeting today, so that's, yeah. Okay. You want to go to board communication?
yeah, I've just got one that I'm gonna go to the ambulance board meeting tomorrow morning.
Okay.
That's all I've got for.
And I missed the interagency today, so just did it. Just missed it. Okay. You have landfill?
Landfill Thursday.
Landfill Thursday. I knew that because Carrie told me. Yeah, okay. Okay. Minutes.
Make a motion, we approve minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those are approved unanimously. Okay, anything else that we need to talk about? No, okay, last agenda item is adjourning.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, at 5:20. This went faster than I thought it was gonna go. Okay, we're adjourned. Okay, we forgot one thing. We went to the Fremont County Board.
yeah.
We did that on Tuesday,
Tuesday, that call-in.
Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. it was. Yeah.
Where Todd and I and Kristen talked to Fremont County about the Johnson Run. And we don't need to levy for that because we don't have any projects. So that was on our agenda and we did that. So, yeah, okay. Guess we're adjourned.